Peace and power, family. I want to kind of get this back. I know we started this on the last video. Definitely check that one out. I know sometimes you get these videos out of order and you don't have to follow that per se, but it helps to go back and take the time to get the context. So, but yeah, I wanted to start this at the top and just kind of breeze through it and pick up on some new understanding that kind of hit me last night late. And I was about to do another drop, but I was just way too tired. But yeah, this is very interesting indeed. When we get back to this energy business, we are in the energy business, like it or not. You are in the energy business, like it or not. So let's pick up on where he is talking about the Chinese kingdom and how the Chinese kingdom was very particular about the frequency of their music. So let's go ahead.
You see, that was absolutely crucial. For thousands of years during the Chinese dynasties, the emperors would send out teams of people all over the kingdom to make sure that the people were playing music in the right frequencies, the proper frequencies with the proper intervals. They had strict guidelines about the music that was being played, because the emperor knew that if you had different factions of different kingdoms playing different types of music, different frequencies of music, that all those different realms would soon be at strife and against one another.
So once they change the frequency of music, everybody goes crazy on each other. It becomes distorted. It becomes chaos. 440 hertz is the frequency of chaos. 432 is the frequency of order. So if you want to know if a kingdom is what did Confucius say? My man, what did the big homie Confucius say? Sorry, I'm trying to get this drop. Here we go. Read it. If one should desire to know whether a kingdom is well governed, if its morals are good or bad, the quality of its music will furnish the answer. Quality meaning the vibration, the frequency. So if they got you in 440 hertz, the result is chaos. Are we in chaos today? Everywhere? Is 440 the standardized pitch from the International Standards Organization? Is it standard? Is everything given to us, all of our artists? They're pumping all our good music, all our good energy through their own distorted frequency. They're pumping all this stuff through their own distorted frequency, and we have to love it because it's our people. We feel the soul in it, but it has been hijacked. Let's go.
Years during the Chinese dynasties, the emperors would send out teams of people all over the kingdom to make sure that the people were playing music in the right frequencies, the proper frequencies with the proper intervals. They had strict guidelines about the music that was being played, because the emperor knew that if you had different factions of different kingdoms playing different types of music, different frequencies of music, that all those different realms would soon be at strife and against one another. So it was imperative that the entire kingdom played music in tune with one another, and they set specific and strict guidelines of what frequency was this music to be played at. So 2,500 years, or actually 4,500 years ago, the Chinese were using the vibration of music to control the people. Now,
who was in China 4,500 years ago? When they dig those bones up from 4,000 years ago, what do they see? Just Google Asiatics. Google China. Remember, it was a China. Then it became China, but it was China. And see what those people look like, and you'll see that they look like you. Asiatics, 4,500 years ago. So make sure you catch that. Don't let them try to fool you like, oh, okay, Chinese, I get it. Okay, this is this drop. I'm talking about 4,500 years ago. Who was in China? You.
Frequency was this music to be played at. So 2,500 years, or actually 4,500 years ago, the Chinese were using the vibration of music to control the people. Now, let's fast forward to today. Now, what do we know about today's music? What do we know about what tuning our music is in, and where did this tuning come from?
And we're just watching this part again. I know we saw it before, but I want to bring out something
this video is to improve your knowledge of musical
a little
language.
new to me.
I mean, what do we really know about music? The air vibration of its sounds are physical and measurable, yes. We know that a singer can shatter a glass with their trained voice. Troops marching across a bridge in unison have been known to collapse that bridge unless they break their rhythm before marching across it. Even subsonic vibrations...
Actually, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit.
...are largely tuned to 432 hertz. 432 hertz to 32 hertz. The original Stradivarius violin was designed to be tuned to 432 hertz as well. The archaic Egyptian instruments that have been unearthed so far are largely tuned to 432 hertz. 432 hertz touches the full 12-scale octave overtones of all music in creation, whereas 440 hertz only touches 8 octave overtones, leaving out an entire section of the complete musical resonance of the universe.
Stop. This is what I wanted to bring out specifically. Just hear it again first. This is a pretty beautiful thing, family. Rock with me.
The archaic Egyptian instruments that have been unearthed so far are largely tuned to 432 hertz. 432 hertz touches the full 12-scale octave overtones of all music in creation, whereas 440 hertz only touches 8 octave overtones, leaving out an entire section of the complete musical resonance of the universe.
Did you get that? Think about it like this. There's levels and layers and levels and layers. Matter of fact, I'll give you sort of a look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. A lot of your 12-step pyramids are built on the assumption and understanding that they're on a relatively, flat surface and that there's levels up and levels down. Levels up and levels down. Okay? And we're going to bring out some new drop about the ends of the earth as well. So this is all coming together. It's very simple. So let's not make it complex, because that's when we get into that 440. Let's keep it at 432 and understand this. He just kicked that 440 hertz only reaches 8 out of the 12 octaves. Musical octaves. Everything is music, right? Everything is sound, vibration. So when he says musical octaves, he's talking about the levels of the game. That 440 hertz gets you to right about, let's see. He said 8 out of 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know what I'm saying? 6, 7, 8, I'm guessing. So that gets you right. See this timeline? This is above the firmament. This is above the vibrational layer. Then you get into higher vibrations, right? You understand? Heavens is pretty much the stars. Then when you get into the heaven of heaven, you know what I'm saying? The upper, actual heaven, heaven of heavens. Kingdom and kingdom, that's all for man. This is all for, you know what I'm saying, the upper vibrations. That 440 hertz only gets you to the firmament. They cut you off right here, right at the timeline, you see? Underneath the firmament, we're subject to time. Above the firmament, we're not subject to time. That's the timeline. They got you trapped in time. You're born into time. They trap you in time. Just like mathematics, you know what I'm saying? Space and time. Sine, cosine. Mathematics, sine and cosine. Sin, S-I-N, sine. You say it's, in mathematics they say sine, but it's still spelled S-I-N. In space and time, however that formula is, but that's the sine, X. Space and time. You're born, trapped in a cage of time. They don't want you resonating above the firmament. So you're born into sin. You're born into sine. You're born into time. And if you want to get off that clock, you got to go up the octaves. So 432 gives you all 12. The whole understanding. The whole foundation. From the root to the tooth. From the root to the tooth. Let's hear it again. Now that we understand a little more. Now that we gained understanding. And this blew me away. I couldn't sleep, tell you the truth. But it was just too cold to do that drop, man. It was way too cold. Because I got to get out on the balcony. Because my kids are asleep. Let's go.
And unearthed so far are largely tuned to 432 hertz.
Listen.
432 hertz touches the full 12-scale octave overtones of all music in creation, whereas 440 hertz only touches 8 octave overtones, leaving out an entire section of the complete musical resonance of the universe.
Leaving out all that drop. Leaving out all that drop. So when you in 432, now you are connected actually all the way in the vibration, the sound, on the scale. Now you're on the scale. Now it's a matter of going up, up, up octaves. But once you get into this consciousness, that's really awakening. That's consciousness. That's what it's. I got my God. Excuse me. Ah, man. All right. Drinking my lemonade too fast. But you know, people say I got my God body, my consciousness. Some people called it Christ consciousness, right? Because they were saying, oh, that's the righteous consciousness. But you understand, that is consciousness. You don't have to say conscious of this. And what is conscious? Can you patent consciousness? When people say this is the conscious community, that's like a title. That's like a business entity. Can you package a conscious community? How do you know who's included in that consciousness? How do you know who's above that firmament? How do you know who's vibrating up here just because they say I'm in a conscious community? So the first thing we do when we wake up is that we get hijacked even into another form of consciousness that still ain't this. And you can feel the energy and the vibration, negativity. You can feel all that because it's underneath the firmament. It's still subject to time. It's still born into sin, born into sine and time, space and time. 440 hertz is the frequency of the prison. And we together have to get above it. Now, he's going to drop something else. And it's going to be pretty neat. Let's go.
The diameter of the moon is 2,160 miles, which is 432 times 5.
You know what I feel about that.
So they obviously missed 5,920-year cycle. And if you multiply the 432 by simply our higher consciousness is being harmonically inspired to acoustically resonate with the overall frequency of the cosmos. Now, for example, let's take one of the most infamous numbers in the Bible, the 666, which is said to be the number of man.
Let's pay attention.
And let's look at a quote by the ancient philosopher Pythagoras, which states, man is 2 octaves below God. Now, if we go back to the 666, and what if we interpret that to mean 6 times 6 times 6?
Okay.
If we do that, we get 216, which is half of the 432, or 1 octave below the 432. So if man is the 216, and the 432 would represent enlightened consciousness by the 432 Buddha statues, then 1 octave above would be 864, or the level of God. So the 432 is the vibrational level we're all moving towards.
Ooh, wait a minute.
Times 6.
Listen.
If we do that, we get 216, which is half of the 432.
Listen one more time.
And let's look at a quote by the ancient philosopher Pythagoras, which states, man is 2 octaves below God. Now, if we go back to the 666, and what if we interpret that to mean 6 times 6 times 6?
Just pay attention to the octaves, okay? We just said how we're going up octaves. So let me give you the visual. Octaves. Each one of these are octaves. A lot of those 12-step pyramids were representing this. And at the very top of the pyramid would be the throne. That's the cap. That's the throne. It doesn't necessarily have to have exactly 12 steps. Sometimes they were still breaking them into 12, regardless of if you can see the visual of the 12 steps. It was still these 12 layers, even within them. And these were acoustic chambers, vibrational. You know, I mean, it gets deep. we're going to get deep, man, into some other stuff about how, you know, these pyramids are literally on these, you know, ley lines, or whatever you want to call them, 33-degree lines and all this kind of stuff. And who did it? It was done at a time. Was it an Israelite thing? Because we got to bring it home, you know what I'm saying, to how we rock, right? So, or was it just a melanated thing? Was it order, or was it chaos? When they were putting the pyramids in these, you know, so-called sacred sites, and we know about the Nephilim and the fallen angels, we know they're doing mighty things. Do we understand how mighty they were operating? Did they set up a bunch of pyramids and a bunch of acoustic chambers to set up an artificial grid? Was this artificial grid set up in order, or to put you in an artificial grid in order for them to connect with the underworld, in order for them to connect with the lower heavens to get to the 440? That's why the pyramids, and I'll drop that again, and I'll drop the link again, you know, of the study of the archaeologist, and how he had the tuning inside the Great Pyramid and in the King's Chamber, and it kept coming out to 440 hertz and in the F sharp. So it wasn't 432, because he really went deep into it, and that was his whole thesis of these pyramids being energy and acoustic, you know what I'm saying, resonators, you know what I'm saying, that balance the land in a certain frequency. But if the pyramids are all, you know, designed facing Orion, and you know how they're connected to the stars, are they connected to here, or are they just connected here? Does the artificial grid allow them to operate here in this heaven, to these stars, to whatever's around Orion and the lower luminaries and all this other stuff? Did these lower luminaries set up their own version of heaven? Since they couldn't get above the firmament anymore, and they couldn't deal with this anymore, they're kicked down. So did they set up their own throne with their own grid? Did they set up their own dome within a dome? Layer within a layer? And we're born into sin, we're born into time, we're born into a frequency, not just through our radio. Maybe it's even deeper than that. Maybe it's through the actual physical constructions of these things, because as Israelites, or as indigenous people, we have to say, okay, did we all rock with the pyramid game, the pyramid shuffle? Was that a part of our scripture? Was that a part of our true heritage? And if we can say it wasn't a part of how Israel rocked, then maybe Israel was on a different frequency. Israel was supposed to connect right here, inwardly, straight up. But then you got scriptures like Amos, was it 2 and 9, or in Joel, you know, 3, that says, you of all families on earth, you, only you have I known of all the families of the earth. It says it a couple of different times. Israel, the whole scripture from beginning to end, and all the stuff that people took from it, is all about this one nation that's supposed to have the ability to connect here inherently in their seed, in their vibration. That's why it's so meticulous to follow the seed. You know what I'm saying? Isaac beget Jacob, beget, because that's the energy that's been passed from the beginning. And that energy has the ability to connect here. So you, as Negro people, as black people, don't understand what you're capable of. That's why they got to keep you here. Because if you woke up and your seed vibrated to here, this is all over with. You've just trumped the entire system. And getting off the 440 is the beginning of that. So let's continue. Because I don't want to make this too long. You already know.
If we do that, we get 216, which is half of the 432, or 1 octave below the 432.
One more time.
So if man is the 216, ancient philosopher Pythagoras, which states, man is 2 octaves below God. Now if we go back to the 666, and what if we interpret that to mean 6 times 6 times 6? If we do that, we get 216, which is half of the 432, or 1 octave below the 432. So if man is the 216, and the 432 would represent enlightened consciousness by the 432 Buddha statues, then 1 octave above would be 864, or the level of God. So the 432 is the vibrational level we're all moving towards.
That's the consciousness. That begins your journey. Now you can play the game. That gives you the key to the heavens. Now you're connecting to all 12 octaves, all 12 levels of sound. Just man, go on the side or just tune your own. You can go to 432 Drop and learn how to tune your own music. No one is coming up off this. We are promoting for you to do it yourself, for everybody to get off the frequency. We're going to the schools, getting the kids, playing 432 music in the classrooms to calm the kids down, to get them off the frequency, if only for a minute. Between the TV and the radio and the 440, if only for a minute, you can connect to the heavens. I don't care if you listen to Rihanna, Beyonce's Lemonade. We're about to drop that in 432 because people are addicted to Beyonce, and I don't care. She's my bait. If I can connect to them through Beyonce, then I'm going to put her in 432 and I'm going to drop this on them. Because once you get to 432, now you're into consciousness. How you going to be conscious when you're on 440? When you're not even aware of your frequency? How can you be conscious if you're not even aware of your frequency? How can you be conscious if you think you're spinning on a ball? And you need science to back you up now. Now you need NASA. Now that's your God. Now you need gravity. You need to believe it. It's never been proven. It's a theory, not a law. But everything's based on it to keep millions of tons of water crushed into a ball spinning at over 1,100 miles per hour. You need gravity. Without gravity, you're nothing. You have no model. You have no ball. I'm taking your ball away. I'm making you stand firm, fixed, and immovable. I'm waking you up. You're indigenous. This is your energy. Take it back. Look what the Buddhas did. Now, you know what the Buddha looks like. You know he got the you know what I'm saying, the rolls and the corn rolls and all that. So these are your people again. Everywhere they're showing you is your people. They set up 432 Buddha statues to vibrate right. Come on.
So according to the ancient Christian text, the Creator
Hebrew
spoke
text
through the authors of the Bible, and they simply wrote the words down. So if these are the actual words of God, then encoded in them could be some hidden patterns or even possibly some deeper insight into the underlying messages. When studying this topic, it turns out that a man named Vernon Jenkins found exactly that. In 1987, Mr. Jenkins, a well-respected lecturer at the University of Glamorgan, developed a system to reveal hidden patterns found within the original Hebrew text of Genesis. His process
always about you, isn't it? Ain't it always about you?
Using the Arabic numeral system. He then used those numbers to determine a certain quantity of geometries, and his results were simply stunning. What you're seeing right now in this first graphic is a
I know we've seen this, but now you can see it again. Let's go.
And I actually replicated his work in a graphics program to see if he was correct, to verify his work. And in this graphic depiction, you see 216 units, 216 squares or boxes that are all lined up perfectly to create a 216 unit outline triangle. So what Vernon Jenkins did was, he took the first words of Genesis 1 through 7 in this graphic, and you see in the beginning, Elohim created the heaven and the earth. Now in the beginning represents 913, Elohim 86. Now there's some contention about whether Elohim or God are the same thing. There's a difference in translation. What created is 203, and the asterisk you see represents 401, which doesn't have a direct translation in English. The
Look it up.
Is 395.
Check it out.
And 407, the earth 296, which equals 2701. So in the original 216 outline triangle, we can fill that perfectly with 2701 units of the same outline.
Come on, man.
And in the next one, words 6 and 7 and the earth have a numerical equivalent of 703. And in this graphic, you see a 703 triangle inset in the original 216 outline triangle. But one of the things to note is that all of the resultant 3 yellow triangles that you see all have 666 units each, which I thought was pretty interesting.
So all this has 666. All this has it. So would it be about getting into this space? Or are these the thirds? You know how the scripture says Israel will be a third and a third and a third. I mean, you could look at it a lot of ways when you start to dig in these layers. This is the dimension of our people. When it comes off of the manuscripts that they have copied and copied for us, when we get to the concrete of our consciousness and understanding, we can skip over all this stuff. We can understand how to keep our commandments, how to love your brother and honor your mother. These are basic things, right? Who do you have to tell this to? You have to tell this to a savage people. You have to tell a people, man, that is capable of the worst. And you look at us, man. Are we not capable of the worst? But are we also not capable of the best? To overcome the worst? What makes you the best? It builds a resilience in you that no one can take away. That's fine tuning. You know what I'm saying? That's all about tuning. It's all about vibration. And right quick, while we're on that 216, so he dropped that, you know what I'm saying, the 6 times 6 times 6 is 216. So you can say that that is where we're at right now. We're all at 216. Okay, that's our octave. Okay, this is all that's our true octave right now. They got us on 440, so they got us even off the 216. At least listen to your music at 216 to get back to your base level. If you really want to get to your base level and stop being a beast and completely distorted, thinking you separate from each other. In the fourth dimension, you are not separate. Everything's connected. Israel's connected. Everything's connected. But you only see it in the third dimension. You see the singularity. But we'll get into all this. So what I'm saying is 216 is here. All right, 432 now, all right, connects you to consciousness itself. Now we are connected to the heavens itself. But listen, he said that we are 2 octaves below the Creator. So we were created and have been dealing naturally at a 216 octave. We are about to go up an octave into 432. You're not going to have to try to be in swag frequency. It's just going to be. That's the new Jerusalem. That's the new earth. That's the new frequency. Will be 432. So we're just getting a head start, getting into it now, connecting to everything now. Right? So we're created right there at 216, but the heaven is 2 octaves above it. He said the Creator is 2 octaves above. It doesn't mean that that's where he stops. It just means that that's where the game starts. So that's 864. Okay? So the kingdom that's come, you know what I'm saying? That's going to be 432, 864. Because you have to double it. That gives you another octave. You double 864, you're at what, 17 something, 26 something? I don't know. But that would be the next octave. You double that, you double that. Now you're talking about being in the octave of the Creator. At the throne. That's where he's vibrating when you do that math. So hey, I say, we got 432. We'll start even having options so you can listen to your music in 864. You dig? You see where we're going with this? So you're 2 octaves below. We're getting into consciousness, the new frequency that we're all going to be a part of at 432. That's still going to be an octave below the frequency above the firmament. Will be 1 octave below that. You know what I'm saying? But one day maybe we'll be tuned to that as well. All of, and on we go. So, hey, that's forever, baby. You know what I'm saying? You can continue that on your own. I'm gonna try to keep this short. Yeah, I had some little drop that I was just also going to drop on you. This is dope. I'll leave a link. Check it out. It's going to break down some 4th dimensional drop. Maybe I'll just kind of let a little bit of it play for a couple seconds. But we're going to drop thoroughly on this joint. You see? Whoa. You just saw your calendar, right? I mean, who did that? Who did that? What people did that? See, it always comes back to you. They might not be saying Negro people, black people, African American. It always comes back to you once you know who you are. You're indigenous. That's why we dropped that, so you can connect to stuff like this. Now we can connect the dots and bring this into our understanding of how they are hijacking our information. Let's catch a little bit of it. hope everybody's having a beautiful day. You know what I'm saying? We're just enjoying the frequency.
Astronomers sometimes say that
This is dope. Check it out.
curved, or that the universe is finite but unbounded.
Sorry, the volume's low.
Everybody talking about it. Let's imagine that we are perfectly flat. I mean, absolutely flat, and that we live, appropriately enough, in a flat land. A land designed and named by Edwin Abbott, a Shakespearean scholar who lived in Victorian England. That into flatland, hovering above it, comes a strange three-dimensional creature which, oddly enough, looks like an apple.
Listen.
And the three-dimensional creature sees an attractive, congenial-looking square, watches it enter its house, and decides in a gesture of interdimensional amity to say hello. After a while, he comes to realize that he is seeing inside closed rooms in flatland. He is looking inside his fellow flat creatures. He is seeing flatland from a perspective no one has ever seen it before to his knowledge. Getting into another dimension provides as an incidental benefit a kind of X-ray vision.
X-ray vision.
Now our flat creature slowly descends to the surface, and his friends rush up to see him. From their point of view, he has mysteriously appeared from nowhere. He hasn't walked from somewhere else. He's come from some other place. They say, for heaven's sake, what's happened to you? And the poor square has to say, well, I was in some other mystic dimension called up. And they will pat him on his side and comfort him, or else they'll ask, well, show us, where is that third dimension? Point to it. And the poor square will be unable to comply. But maybe more interesting is the other direction in dimensionality. What about the fourth dimension? Now, to approach that, let's consider a cube. We can imagine a cube in the following way. Take a line segment and move it at right angles to itself in equal length. That makes a square. Move that square in equal length at right angles to itself, and you have a cube. Now, this cube, we understand, casts a shadow. And that shadow we recognize is ordinarily drawn in third grade classrooms as two squares with their vertices connected. Now, if we look at the shadow of a three-dimensional object in two dimensions, we see that, in this case, not all the lines appear equal. Not all the angles are right angles. The three-dimensional object has not been perfectly represented in its projection in two dimensions, but that's part of the cost of losing a dimension in the projection. Now, let's take this three-dimensional cube and project it, carry it to a fourth physical dimension. Not that way, not that way, not that way, but at right angles to those three directions. I can't show you what direction that is, but imagine that there is a fourth physical dimension. In that case, we would generate a four-dimensional hypercube, which is also called a tesseract. I cannot show you a tesseract because I and you are trapped in three dimensions. But what I can show you...
You just said we're trapped in three dimensions. Why are we trapped in three dimensions? Because we're trapped in time. We're trapped in sin. We're trapped in sine, cosine, time, space. We're trapped in a consciousness that keeps us below the firmament. When we're above the firmament, we're in another dimension. We are not subject to time. Now we are starting to unlock these layers. All praise Heya Heya. Let's go.
Is the shadow in three dimensions of a four-dimensional hypercube, or tesseract. This is it. And you can see it's two nested cubes, all the vertices connected by lines. And now the real tesseract in four dimensions would have all the lines of equal length and all the angles right angles. That's not what we see here, but that's the penalty of projection.
Space loop, end of the earth stuff. You go too far to the end of the earth, you repeat a loop in the same three-dimensional space, but it's a space loop. So when you're in motion, you're on another dimension. I mean, now we are questioning things to get greater understanding, because we are anchored in Heya, and nothing can take us off that. We're off that circle, foundation, immovable. So you see the sun and the moon going over you and going into portals, like Enoch says, portals, and these portals bring them back. They go in and out of portals every day. They're showing you the equivalent of it being a ball, but it's an actual wave. Everything is energy. Everything is waves. Let's get that again. I don't want you to miss it. The same applies to people and objects. A traveler going from east to west in a straight line will arrive at the starting point every 40,000 kilometers, or 20. So that's what they call. That's where they get their math from when they say that the Earth's circumference as a ball. That's their Earth's circumference, because they know that that's the space loop. They know that once you go in a straight line from east to west, that many miles. Oh snap, man. I'm just getting this as I'm saying. Honestly, I kind of saw it a little bit last night. I was tired, but now it's kind of making way sense. Way sense, man. Every 25,000 miles, man, you loop. You hit a portal. The ends. Remember, we got the drop and the flat drop. Go back to the flat drop, where it's breaking down how you go, to the North Pole or South. You keep going to the ends of the Earth. It says it meets the celestial. You can go to a point straight. You don't even have to go up to go to the heavens. You can go straight to get to the heavens. You can go straight so far that you reach the ends of the earth, where the earth and the heavens meet. And that's a magical place. And that's where the portals are that will loop you back. And that is the basis of your time travel. That's the basis of all this manipulation. That's the basis of teleportation. That's the understanding, and that's the drive. And we'll be digging more in on this. I just wanted to give you an intro into it to get you kind of started on a few of the ways that, the Ruach has been pulling me left, man, and right, and I've been just going with it, traveling on this wave, and you're surfing this wave with me, and I appreciate all of you guys. You know what I'm saying? This is a real quick drop. Lastly, let's end with this. You know what I'm saying? This is the Hebrew depiction of the flat earth firmament. See, the stars, sun are within the firmament. And then there's levels above that. That diagram with the space loop kind of has it, but we know that there's a vault. So even if it's curved, on Earth, you can go to the ends where the celestial and the earth meet. The celestial and the earth meet. You see the firmament. So at the end of the vault, where it touches down, will be the loop that will loop you back. That's why they don't let you fly planes over the North Pole or South Pole. That's why you can only go so far. No one ever takes a journey and say, I'm a journey over the North Pole, but they always have to come back the way they started. They never pop out the other side of the ball. No one on record has ever popped out the other way, east to west, north to south, because you're not on the ball. If you go too far, you loop. That sun goes around and loops back around from portals and portals, the moon, portals and portals. This is another depiction of the 12 octaves, but they got the planets, so it gives you another kind of way of perceiving things. Let's count. This is Sheol, this is hell, right? So Sheol, that's earth. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12, the throne. Okay? But they got the planets, the moon, Mercury, Venus, the sun, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, the stellar heaven. You see how it's rounded like a firmament. The crystalline heaven, so that's the vault. That's the crystal. They say the firmament is crystal. So you got the stars, and then you got the crystal. They said the crystalline heaven, that's the vault. So the vault must be made of some type of crystal vibration. And that's why the floors of the Most High's throne are all crystal. You understand? This is Egypt. So for those saying, hey, Egypt thought we were spinning on the ball. Look at Egypt's depiction of the of the world. You see, you got their goddess Nut, the sky goddess, spread and arched. You see how the stars are within her, and outside of her are, their gods, Thoth and Ra. We're going to get into these guys and connect them back to Atlantis, and Atlantis keeps popping up no matter where we look. So we're going to connect all this and see where this artificial frequency began, where this other grid. If the fallen angels came down, that means they did their own grid, their own energy, their own replication of what was above, below, as above, so below. So they did the below their own way, and they put you in 440 hertz. But it started way back, and that's my understanding of it right now. That might change, but right now, that's what it looks like. And all the pyramids and all them put on certain parts, and those were the same energies. That's why Israel didn't rock with it. And that's why we were enslaved by it. We were enslaved by 440 hertz in Egypt. We were enslaved by 440 hertz here. Egypt is on your dollar. That's the frequency they tapped into. I know that ain't the popular view, but I'm not here to be popular. I didn't come for peace. The Creator ain't coming back for peace. I'll get peace when He gives us peace. Until then, it's a frequency war. Another depiction of the same thing. Nut, the sky goddess. This is Geb. He's the earth. He's laid flat with like a mountainous, right? Not completely flat like there's mountains. He's laid like the terrain. Sky goddess arched over him. You know what I'm saying? And you can look into these particular entities all the way up to the sky entities, different star entities, and the other guys outside. So they're putting their gods outside the firmament on higher vibrations than within the where they're trying to keep your frequency locked. We're supposed to have frequency that goes all like this, but they keep you locked here. Another depiction of it. So don't play. This ain't play. This is Egypt. They knew. They know. And remember what we had here. Okay? And this is actually the website. And it says, right here I'm reading. But I'll put the link up. You will see that there are realms under the earth. In fact, there are 3 realms into the earth, 3 realms into the kingdom of heaven, into God's kingdom, a kingdom that was given to Adam. Everything in between is for us. And there is the atmosphere in between them making 7. You will always find 7s in the things of God because 7 speaks of completion and is a perfect number. Each heavenly realm, right here, each heavenly realm has 7 dimensions or levels of authority within it. I don't know what they are all yet, but I do know that they are linked to the court structure covered in the last session of the their stuff. So look into this with the atmosphere of the earth. There are 3 realms, and how the Greeks took the abstract of our concrete understanding of this stuff. So verify it, but we are on a journey here. So it's not about being completely right, but I think we're on to something. And so we're just on the path of being scientific. We're questioning things. We're looking at the stars differently, the planets differently. It's just all just an illusion that we're waking up and saying we're not spinning. We're firm, fixed, and immovable, and everything is revolving and moving around you. If you want a ball, I'll give you the whole universe. Perhaps the universe is a ball, a sphere, but not the earth, man. Not the earth. This is earth. This is your sky goddess, Nut. This is not a sphere. If they wanted a sphere, that would be a whole nother thing. You know what that is. Okay? And the planets, that's why This is where they're getting their energy from. This is all the pyramid power, my understanding. That's why you got the pyramid to the sun, pyramid to the moon, all that stuff around the Americas. All that stuff is going here. This is the energy of the grid. That's why it appears that these things are in 440. But the people's instruments were in 432. The people had to drop. The people were fighting against this frequency then, so they were tuning their instruments to 432. That's why in Egypt, you got the instruments coming out in 432. So what I'm telling you is that I'm not saying Egyptians are bad. I'm not saying our people are bad. I'm saying the ruling parties, whoever that is, came in, whatever we're calling these guys, came in and gave another version of the heavens, but it was in another frequency. And it's not to help you, it's to control you. And they were subjugating the people around them, so they had to control them. It was all about war, tribal war, subjugating. And they were on the frequency war then. And the pyramid being on the back of the dollar lets you know that we're still in a frequency war. We're still in the frequency war. So stay tuned for more drop. Got much more following up. You know what I'm saying? Shalom, shalom. Shalom, shalom. Love to everybody, man. Peace, man. Kwan Yasharah.